Today we've got Pinsir and Heracross facing off to see who can beat Pokemon Gold the fastest. A quick rules rundown: the game is beaten by defeating Red, and I play at 4 times speed. To get to the essence of a Pokemon's design, I won't use moves like Hidden Power or Double Team, one-hit knockout moves like Guillotine, or Ek and Event moves. I will only use the respective Pokemon in battle with no bag items during battle, and the description will have everything if you want to reference these rules during the video. So back to our combatants. Why these two? Let's compare. Pinsir and Heracross are based on beetles. Pinsir is based on the Stag Beetle and Heracross the Hercules Beetle. I don't know about you, but that is pretty freaky. Pinsir made its debut in Generation 1 at Pokédex number 127, and Heracross debuted in Gen 2 at Pokédex number 214. To acquire these two in Gold and Silver, you can get Pinsir at the National Park during the bug catching contest, and Heracross by headbutting trees. Not to mention that they are both single stage evolution bug types, but Heracross does add a secondary fighting type, which we'll talk more about in a second. And finally, they both have the same base stat total of 500, which is pretty good. Competitively, we can see Pinsir has never been good. It was at its worst arguably in Generation 1, since bug types in general weren't good. Landing in PU, which doesn't stand for anything by the way, it just means it's bad. In Generation 2, it does find itself in underused, thanks to some balance added to the game, but it still isn't in the coveted overused tier. It runs a pretty good set though, with Swords Dance, Hidden Power Bug, any strong normal type move, and Submission, a fighting type move. Interestingly enough, we can't use Hidden Power, but Pinsir does learn these moves naturally, as we'll see soon. This is about where the story for Pinsir's competitive history ends, since it never really sees much notable usage other than through a Mega Evolution introduced in Generation 6 and phased out after Generation 7. On the other hand, Heracross created Buzz from the get-go, starting off in OU. In Gen 2, it runs a Rest and Sleep Talk combination with Mega Horn, a mega powerful bug attack, and rounding things out with Curse or Seismic Toss. These moves are also compatible with our playthroughs, so things are looking up for Heracross. Heracross gains the ability Guts, which makes it scary if it gets statused, so it remained in OU in Ruby and Sapphire, but it declines after that. Like Pinsir, it too has a Mega Evolution that was OU, but there's nothing else that is earth-shattering to note. Even though Pinsir looks to be totally outclassed, we should look a bit closer at base stats, type advantages, and moves. Pinsir is a pure bug type Pokemon, so fire, flying, rock moves are the greatest threats to it, while resisting fighting grass and ground moves. Pinsir's 500 base stat total consists of an average 65 base HP, great 125 base attack, good 100 base defense, bad 55 special attack, which is whatever, average 70 base special defense, and good 85 base speed. I'll take that. In terms of level up moves, we start with Vice Grip. 55 base power is a clear upgrade over 35 base power from the likes of Tackle. Seismic Toss has its uses. We can't use Guillotine. Submission is inconsistent with 80 accuracy and recoil, but still, it's a fighting move. However, Swords Dance is the star of the show here at level 43. That will help us speed through the final battles, assuming we can set up. In terms of TMs, you get what you expect here for the most part, minus Dig and Earthquake. We can live with that since we do have Swords Dance and coverage in Submission, but how are we supposed to hit ghost types? Thief? Fury Cutter? You gotta be kidding. How about Heracross? With Bug and Fighting, we don't gain too much. In fact, we are weak to Fire and Psychic, but quad weak to Flying. That's going to sting, to say the least. Lance has all flying types, and Red has a Charizard. Oh man, we do at least lose the rock weakness and gain resistances to fighting and dark moves, so I'll take that. In terms of base stats, Heracross has a higher 80 base HP than Pinsir, the same attack stat, worse defense, and worse special attack, which special attack doesn't matter, better special defense, and the same speed. In summary, it looks to be more balanced than Pinsir defensively since it has a little more HP to go around. Well, except against flying types. Anyways, in terms of level up moves, we pick up Horn Attack at level 6, which is better than Vice Grip, so we should start off pretty well. Not seeing too much else here that's useful for a solo challenge. Maybe Reversal? This is a weird move in Gen 2. Here's a table to feast upon. It increases in power as your HP drops. It's gonna be real tough to stay down here all the time, but if you can, it's 200 base power. Wait, what? Oh yeah, Heracross is fighting type, so theoretically it can do 300 base power damage if you're at like 2 HP. Not bad. We could do a meme strat with Endure and try to sweep everything, but with only 4 move slots and needing to wait until level 44 for Reversal, that is nigh impossible in a solo challenge. Probably. It'd be nice to get more fighting type moves since Heracross is fighting, but reversal is not too shabby. And yeah, Megathorn, this move is pretty sharp, but too bad we won't get it until very late in the game. It could have been useful for Karen's Umbreon, but that's if we are able to get it by then. It's worth noting that our combatants are in the slow experience group, which requires the most XP in Gen 2. It's hanging out with the likes of Ho-Oh and Lugia, minus the base stats and being legendary Pokemon, of course. Yeah, these guys are going to have a slow ascent and leveling up. For TMs, we have the same thing here, except Heracross can learn Protect, Earthquake, and Detect. Earthquake is the key here. Looks like Morty might be a struggle though, with no dig or any punches, which is sort of weird, but the show must go on. Who's gonna win? My money is on Pinsir. It's probably gonna have a tougher time than Heracross early on, but it gets Swords Dance at the perfect time. On the other hand, Heracross is gonna get locked up at the Elite Four and Red. This could be a blowout if the 4x weakness to flying is too tough to overcome. Heracross doesn't have any rock moves. If it had Rock Slide and Gold and Silver, then we'd be cooking with fire. But that's a story for another time. Leave a comment and let me know what you think. We will start our journey with Pinsir. Let's set the stage. We always play at 1 AM to race the sunrise throughout our playthrough. Plus, we have to set the time to Sunday so we can pick up the move return later. It's good to be back. Pinsir's gonna have an easier time in the beginning since we don't have that quad weakness to flying. But our first true test is not our rival or Faulkner even, but instead what nickname do we choose? Since we have the two Beetles today, I'm thinking of dedicating these two to an all-time classic rock band. Pinsir kinda reminds me of Ringo Starr over every other band member. That'll do. After completing that first errand for Professor Elm, we try our newly acquired contestant in the first baddie battle. I let the rival have Cyndaquil for both matchups today since Bug is weak to fire. Will it beat any match to Ringo? Going into battle, I haven't done any training, but we have Vice Grip. We move first and that does a third. Tackle only does 2 thanks to our beefy defenses. We finish off Cyndaquil over the next 2 turns. The baddie is down. I do notice that we don't level up here. We've got a long journey ahead. That said, things still went pretty well, and we have good momentum heading into Violet City and the first gem. I do require the completion of Sprout Tower, even though it's technically optional, but I like to have Flash to pick up rare candies and go through some dark caves, and most players would complete it anyway. Even with how well that first battle went, the first trainer in Faulkner's gym has a Spearow with a super effective peck, and that will do massive damage. I decide it's best to do Sprout Tower first. We reach the top, and Sagely is about to be demoted to Elderly. He sends out his first Bellsprout. We are now at level 9 but only have Focus Energy, which isn't too useful, especially since Vice Grip looks to make quick work, doing over half. We finish off the Bellsprout next turn. Next for Sagely is another Bellsprout that we cut down quickly. We level up to 10 and finally there's Hoot Hoot. Vice Grip rips over half and it foolishly uses Foresight, letting us finish it off in Sprout Tower. On to Faulkner. I'm not really expecting much trouble here in the first gym because of that experience we gained in Sprout Tower. I am curious to see if we have any challenges with Pinsir since Heracross will be affected badly with that quad weakness. The first bird trainer will definitely give us some insight into that idea. Bird Keeper Abe sends out Spearow. It's level 9 so its peck will be strong. Oh, okay, well that's unfortunate. The next battle has 2 Pidgeys at level 7. It's actually easier than the first battle because they only have Tackle, so we should make quick work. Vice Grip doesn't quite knock out the first one, but it does devastating damage. It's a similar story for the next Pidgey as well. We level up to 11 heading into the first gym leader battle. I was thinking of healing here, but we haven't had any trouble. I'm actually going to take away the berry since it shouldn't be necessary, and I'd like to save it for bigger challenges ahead. Could I be wrong? Faulkner sends out his Pidgey, which notably has Mud Slap. It doesn't even get a chance though. That crit was extremely useful. To finish things off, we have Pidgeotto. We stick with Vice Grip and that does less than I expected. Gus is next and that was a lot of damage, without a crit too. Another Vice Grip takes Pidgeotto to red and another Gus leaves us in striking distance. We do finish off Pidgeotto, but it certainly wasn't a cakewalk. We get the first badge nonetheless. I can't help but think that Heracross is going to be shell-shocked at Faulkner, but we can worry about that in a few minutes. We need to head to Azalea Town with Ringo for Bugsy. Along the way we catch the HM Ombre Whooper that will help us in the first part of our journey with Surf. Thank you, Ombre. After we wipe out the Slowpoke well, we roll into Bugsy's Hive at level 15. We've picked up Bind, but more importantly, the attack stat is shaping up nicely. Bugsy's got 3 Pokemon. Metapod and Kakuna aren't very threatening, and Scyther shouldn't take us out, hopefully. First up, Bugsy sends out Metapod. We'll pick Vice Grip since our options are limited. It does half. Metapod uses String Shot, not hard unsurprisingly, and it misses. Vice Grip next turn gives us the range we need and KOs Bugsy's first Mon. Next is Kakuna. It can poison us, so we need to be careful. Vice Grip does more than it did to Metapod, and Kakuna uses an injury-prone Philadelphia 76er. Even with the defense boost, the next Vice Grip crushes Kakuna. We've made it to Scyther with full health and no poison. We ought to be fine. We use Vice Grip, but Scyther outspeeds with Quick Attack, and that wasn't good. Vice Grip might have done a quarter, but not the best start against Scyther. Switches to Fury Cutter next turn, but we take that okay, and Vice Grip takes Scyther to orange health. Another Fury Cutter takes us right above half. Vice Grip doesn't quite knock it out, but we finish Scyther off next turn at 15 health. Yikes. It's good that we weren't poisoned and that Scyther didn't start with Fury Cutter. We acquire the second badge, but more importantly, we get Fury Cutter. Why is that so? We get a nice same type attack bonus of 50% with bug type, and we have one more mandatory battle before our first checkpoint with Batty 2. He has a Ghastly, so unless we decide to struggle, Fury Cutter is our best and only option. It's going to take many turns without missing to build up enough power, but we ought to make it out okay. It's 95 base accuracy. What's the worst that can happen? I do entertain the idea of letting Ringo hold a Paralysis Cure Berry, but Ghastly can either lick us and paralyze us, or use Hypnosis and put us to sleep. Let's see if we can't get by without any help first. Ghastly is up first, and it's pretty weak defensively. Still though, Fury Cutter does hardly anything. Then it uses Hypnosis. That's just great. Lick now is barely doing anything to us, and we wake up after a few turns and use Fury Cutter again. The damage does reset, but Lick doesn't paralyze us. We build up a bit more power next turn, but Lick now paralyzes us. Fantastic. Of course, Ghastly moves first next and keeps licking. Then we're unable to move. We trade blows next turn, but then we're unable to move again. That pattern holds for the next 2 turns. We just can't get any momentum built up on Fury Cutter. Finally, we do get 2 Fury Cutters off in a row. Things are looking up, but I spoke too soon as we are paralyzed next turn. As you can probably imagine, I was pretty infuriated at this point with the number of paralysis turns we had. I was just mashing A at this point, and what do you know, Ghastly uses Spite on the way out, just to spite us. We're left at half health when Batty sends out Cool Lava next. We do manage to take an Ember, but then we're paralyzed. Oh, yay, a useless berry. I don't think it's gonna help. We have our first reset of Pinsir's run. We got pretty bad luck with the paralysis. If we can just get past the Ghastly relatively unscathed, this shouldn't be a challenge. So I'll head into the second battle with high hopes. This time Ghastly uses Spite first instead of Hypnosis. Okay, maybe it'll continue with that strategy. But no, we get licked, and once again, we're paralyzed. However, we follow that up with a Fury Cutter and a crit. Okay, we just need one more turn. Alright, we get the knockout, and we're down barely any HP. Next is Cool Lava. It uses Ember, but we should be okay. Oh, okay then. We get another reset. Looking back, I probably should have been using the Paralysis Cure Berry. In fact, I see a few of you dusting off the keyboard now. But these things are useful later, like at Jasmine and Lance, especially in a battle that should be going our way. Third time's a charm, right? Our first Fury Cutter lands, and Ghastly uses Lick. We don't get paralyzed. Another Fury Cutter lands, and Lick follows, and we get paralyzed. Okay, but hopefully the run of bad luck is over. We are able to move next, and Fury Cutter lands. We just need one more. And Ringo sticks the landing. Alright, as long as we don't get crit and miss our Fury Cutter on Cool Lava, we should be alright. Instead, we get hit with Smokescreen. That's not ideal, but we do get the hit and get the knockout, without a crit either. That's just awesome. But there's still Zubat, and it can confuse us, so we're not out of the woods, or actually in this case, into the woods yet. Anyways, Zubat bites first, and we do finally get paralyzed. Then it tries Supersonic and misses, as do we. I realize that Vice Grip is now a superior option, so I switch over to that. Bite lands, but we don't flinch, and Vice Grip does over half the Zubat. Oh, we are so close. We are bitten again, but we get off of Vice Grip and take down Batty 2, leveling up to 18. That's the first checkpoint down, and we're off to Ilex Forest. So that wasn't the best way to end the first checkpoint, but things were uneventful in the beginning. Ringo was supposed to be the star of the show here, but those unlucky resets may drum up some controversy later on in the competition. For Heracross, I'm expecting the opposite. That 4x flying weakness may end the competition before it even began. Let's find out, shall we? Heracross is sort of a mouthful, and look at that face. I think Paul is a fitting name for him today. But before things get too difficult for Paul, we do have a nice little warm-up round with Batty. I'm excited to see the carnage caused by a higher base attack and stronger move in horn attack. As we get into battle, I was in for a rude awakening. I forgot that we don't learn horn attack until level 6, darn. But hey, tackle is doing pretty good damage, and it still takes 4 turns to finish things off, but we come out well ahead. Moving along here, we finished off Sprout Tower, and it's time to check out the first gym. Paul's run of Pokemon Gold is about to look more like Dark Souls 3. The show must go on, however, so let's see how bad things are at level 10. The first trainer sends out Spearow. We do have horn attack, so maybe we'll get a crit or something. We don't, but that's pretty good damage output there. It uses Peck. Okay, I was definitely underestimating you, Paul. We finish off the first trainer. After healing up and taking down the second trainer, we arrive at Faulkner. The results against Spearow do give me some hope, but Gust from Pidgeotto is probably going to blow us away. Only one way to find out. Paul is up against Pidgey first. Horn attack is going to do a lot of damage, but it doesn't take down Pidgey. It responds with tackle, presumably due to our resistance to ground type moves like Mud Slap. With Pidgey grilled, we turn our attention to Pidgeotto. Honestly, I'm feeling pretty good. We need horn attack to do at least half. Yes, it does. Gust follows and holy smokes. Well, at least I did enough training. Faulkner is finished. Jeez, let's get out of here. Along the way, we catch Paul's HM homie, Wooper. Thank you, homie. We are about ready to take on Bugsy. We're at level 16 now, and horn attack is still the way to go. I'll share a berry with Paul since we sort of lucked out not being poisoned with Ringo. Let's see if it goes well for Paul then. Bugsy sends out Metapod first. We roll with horn attack and do over half. It goes for James and goes down hard next turn. Bugsy opts for Kakuna next, and Paul makes quick work in 2 turns. Again, not being poisoned is clutch here. With Scyther last, we go to work with horn attack. Moves first with Fury Cutter, but with our fighting type, it's not effective. Horn attack does a quarter. Another Fury Cutter doesn't do much to us yet. We take Scyther to orange. Another Fury Cutter lands with a crit, but we're still in good form. And it turns out horn attack was in range. Don't mind me. Bugsy is exterminated. With one last battle before Paul's checkpoint, I'm hoping it fares better than Ringo did. I'm telling you guys, those paralysis odds were ridiculous. To prove my point and keep things fair, I won't have Paul hold a paralysis cure berry. We'll go ahead and teach Fury Cutter because that too is pretty much our only strategy for Paul. Time to take on Batty 2. Ghastly is first. Good old Ghastly. We use Fury Cutter doing nothing. And it uses Spite. We do have limited PP, but it's better than Lick at least. Next turn, we land another Fury Cutter and Ghastly uses Lick, but we come out with only 3 damage. We both continue with about the same result, and luckily we're still not paralyzed. We land another Fury Cutter, this time Fatal, and make it to Quilava unparalyzed. Okay, I guess Paul is getting all the luck. That continues as Fury Cutter lands again, taking down Quilava in a single turn. Zubat is last for Batty. I switched to Horn Attack since it quad resists Fury Cutter, and we pay the price as it confuses us. I hope this doesn't come back to haunt us. It didn't. Batty 2 is all cleaned up, and Paul is finished with the first checkpoint. Where do things stand? Well, Paul is ahead of Ringo at the moment by about 55 seconds. Paul wasn't slowed down like I thought he would be at Faulkner, and the Batty didn't paralyze us like he did to poor Ringo. This is just the beginning, but it's curious to think about how the next few checkpoints are going to go down, especially when we arrive at the 4th gym against Morty. Back to Pinsir now, we're on our way to Goldenrod City to get the 3rd badge. Before we can proceed, we need to get our HM helper to cut down any trees and light up any dark paths ahead. Whitney could pose a threat to Ringo over Paul with the solo bug type. Whitney's Miltank has Rollout, a super effective rock type move. It's going to be a power struggle with Pinsir's attack stat. I will pick up Headbutt and Ilex Forest from this guy here, as Headbutt is a little more powerful than Vice Grip with the bonus chance to cause a flinch. Arriving in Goldenrod now, I'll go ahead and clear the mandatory trainers down in the basement. Then I'll head over to the radio tower to answer the quiz questions to get the radio card that we'll need later on for Snorlax and Kanto. I'll also grab the bike that we're totally definitely going to be riding around the rest of our journey all of the time to help advertise the bike shop as an agreement for getting the bike for free. And lastly, we'll need to do one more thing before taking on Whitney. I'll head up to the top floor of the Goldenrod department store. Here I need to grab a bunch of fresh waters. Not to spoil too much ahead, but earlier against Ghastly I mentioned we only had 2 strategies, Fury Cutter or Struggle. Fury Cutter can work in a pinch, but there is a gauntlet of curse users ahead, which by the way, curse drains a quarter of our HP each turn we don't get a knockout. It's not feasible to set up Fury Cutter if the goal is beating the game as fast as possible. So Struggle it is. We can mitigate this somewhat as there are a plethora of appropriately leveled trainers at the Olivine Lighthouse. We'll be clearing them out and getting the medicine fetch quest before taking on Morty and the baddie in Burn Tower. But I digress, there's another gem we need to worry about. Whitney. Pinsir should manage assuming we have the firepower built up to knock out her mill tank in no less than 4 turns. While I just trashed Fury Cutter with my explanation right before, we can squeeze some usage out of it here. I'll let Pinsir hold the berry just in case, but let's churn some butter, baby. First things first, we have a Clefairy to deal with. I'll opt for Fury Cutter now and pray we don't miss. Things start off fine with a hit and Metronome Confusion dealing minor damage to us. Another Fury Cutter lands and Clefairy uses Double Slap, which Ringo takes fine. The third Fury Cutter does over half damage to Clefairy and knocks it out. Next up is Miltank. While Ringo is fast, Miltank is like that one stocky kid in your 5th grade gym class with devastatingly deceptive speed. As a result, we take 11 from Rollout first, but Fury Cutter lands doing massive damage. I stick with Fury Cutter, but I realize it can miss. Luckily, Rollout misses instead, and Fury Cutter doesn't, finishing Miltank, and we level up to 20. Whitney's been cultured. It's off to Critique City. I don't plan on healing between now and defeating Morty so that our PP is completely milk dry at the right time. It's important to note that I did teach Headbutt as it is a good move to have so that we don't drain our PP before finishing inside the lighthouse. I guess on the same topic, I'll be sure to grab the squirt bottle in this house here. In gold version, there is no need to go north first as you can talk to her straight away. Game Freak fixed this in crystal version, probably from complaints of not knowing where to find the squirt bottle. I'm sure a lot of people didn't believe it existed. On the way, we can talk to this fellow in the guardhouse to acquire Kenya, our little flying friend. Heading toward Ekrutik, we have the Sudowoodo to worry about. Again, another key difference between our combatants is that weakness to rock type moves as a mono bug type. We do have Seismic Toss, and I'll use that as our other moves are resisted at the moment. While Sudowoodo has Rock Throw, it uses Flail here since it has that wild Pokemon AI, so we have that to our advantage at least. It looks like it's not going to branch out from Flail, and we can continue cutting down its HP with one more Seismic Toss. After arriving in Ekrutik, we can make quick work of the Kimono ladies to grab Surf. You know, I think I'm going to pass and leave that move for Linus. Now we're going to make our way towards the lighthouse. I thought at first this might make Ringo have a really bad time overall, but you know, after thinking about it, it works in our favor. Struggle is a base 40 power physical attack, so we have pretty good synergy with depleting our PP, building up our attack stat, and clearing out a necessary segment of the game. We only lose time with the backtracking. What about getting an Abra with teleport? Since the last time we healed was in Goldenrod, we can handle the few seconds we lose by walking back towards Ekrutik. Along the way to Olivine City, we need to grab the Mint Berry, which will wake us up from sleep. Morty's Gengar can put us to sleep, which is the other major threat to contend with outside of Curse. We'll make our way up the lighthouse just fine. In fact, we make it through with a little bit of PP remaining, but I left some easier trainers along the route between Ekrutik and Olivine to let us safely finish off our PP. Now we can begin struggling through Morty's gym. This first trainer is a good barometer for trying Struggle. One sneaky downside to Struggle is the recoil. Although you're seeing me sweeping through all the level 16 Ghastlies, which, you know, it's good to see, by the time we finish the battle, we are deep in the red. However, the power is just about right to take on Morty. After finishing off the final trainer, we'll heal up with our fresh waters and give Ringo the Mint Berry to hold. We're at level 30, which is what I would expect to get through Morty, who tops out with a level 25 Gengar. Let's ghost Morty. First for Morty is a level 21 Ghastly. It's crucial that we knock this one out in one turn or it's going to use Curse. Luckily we do make it through. Morty sends out Hunter next. We also really need to take care of it as soon as possible. Looks like the lighthouse plan worked well, seeing that it goes down in a single turn. For Gengar next, I'm definitely not expecting a one hit, but half is the target. Yep, very good, we got it. Even better, Gengar tries Hypnosis and completely fails. Gengar is gone. Finally, he's a stronger Haunter. Struggle doesn't quite knock it out, and we're at orange health. It does only use mean look, so we finish off Morty. While that battle boils down to mashing A, we really couldn't afford more than one turn of curse, so don't let looks deceive you. There is still the matchup with Batty and Burn Tower. I did make a bad mistake with Ringo though. I forgot to take on Batty and Burn Tower. I managed to capture another run with Pinsir, so we'll just append the time it took to arrive there and the battle time to Ringo's run. By the way, I didn't make the same mistake with Paul. So anyways, just roll the tape. Batty sends out his Haunter first. Funnily enough, with Ringo and this version of the multiverse, we don't get the range we needed with this level 20 Haunter. Guess we lucked out with Morty. Well, here we get to see the power of Curse on display. Nevertheless, Haunter is toast next turn and we'll deal with the consequences of Curse later. Next up is Quilava. Struggle does well, but it's not enough. So Curse is hitting hard. Ember hits, but we're a bit over level taking that well. There's still 2 Pokemon left and Batty sends out Magnemite. This doesn't look good. However, Struggle surprisingly does enough since it's a typeless move, so that's reassuring. Zubat is last, and I think we're good since Magnemite went down in one turn. Yeah, it's enough, but we just barely scrape by with 2 HP. But we're through with probably the most arduous stretch of the game, for Ringo at least. In terms of time, with that penalty applied, Ringo's clocking in at 39 minutes and 14 seconds. That's really not great, but given that we had to go through the roundabout way to beating Morty with the lighthouse and all that, the 2-hour final time is still in reach. Ringo didn't have any hurdles outside of that with the checkpoint, so I'll call it a success. Now, with Paul, I'm expecting better success. Let's see if he can get any additional separation from Ringo. Paul is going into Whitney with the same strategy as Ringo. After doing all the same errands as before, we are almost ready to go. I will teach Headbutt before I forget. I figure Endure isn't going to be useful like I explained in the intro, so bye-bye. But Headbutt isn't really relevant yet. Fury Cutter is our strategy here for Whitney. Time to spoil her day. First is Clefairy, and Fury Cutter slices a bit off with a crit. Double Slap gets a good roll here, hitting our Heracross 5 times with a crit thrown in there for good measure. We continue building up Fury Cutter, taking Clefairy to orange. We get hit with Double Slap again, but this time only taking 3 slaps. We finish off Clefairy next turn. Next is Miltank, which I'm not super worried about given the neutrality to roll out. That does 5 damage. Fury Cutter milks through most of Miltank's health. We are taking orange health, but Miltank is slaughtered. Paul levels up to 20 and Whitney's been whipped. Heracross has to go through the same exercise as Pinsir to prepare for Struggle, so about 15 minutes elapse between Whitney and as we approach Morty. I'll hand a Mint Berry to Paul. Should hopefully go well, but believe it or not, I'm no medium. Let's meet our fate. Morty sends out Ghastly first. We struggle and it's cast into Oblivion. Alright, not cursed yet. Haunter is next. We struggle too, and Haunter might haunt us. But instead it uses Nightshade. Okay, that definitely wasn't an ideal sequence, but we're not doomed yet. We level up, gain a few HP, and now face Gengar. Struggle lands doing more than half, which is excellent. We are unfortunately put to sleep. That berry could have been useful at Chuck, but that's how the cookie crumbles, I suppose. Haunter follows up, and Struggle won't knock it out, but Morty decides to be anticlimactic with Mean Luck. Morty needs some soul searching. With Paul, I don't forget to face the Batty and Burn Tower. I'll head over and pop some sodas since we still need Struggle. We might have some trouble assuming we don't knock out Haunter in one turn. We definitely lucked out with Pinsir before with 2 HP, but I made sure to top up this time around. First is Haunter. Struggle doesn't knock it out and it uses Curse. With Paul's higher special defense, Quilava shouldn't be an extreme threat. We don't knock out the Quilava in Recoil, then Curse, then the Dampened Ember. Well, combined, it's not great. We do finish it off, and Batty opts for Zubat this time instead of Magnemite. Not really too exciting. It goes down, but hey, we do level up and get out of the red. I do wonder if Magnemite was a range earlier. Doesn't look like we'll find out. Sneaking out of here with 15 HP makes me think that training we've done was just about as efficient as I could have come up with, so I'm satisfied. Another checkpoint down, which opens things up to the next 3 gems. Paul clocks in at 38.26 and 48 seconds ahead of Ringo. The results are still holding. The strategy here between our combatants was virtually the same, so looking ahead we will start diverging in moves around Jasmine and only get further apart from there, but will these differences in moves lead to differences in the final results? Back over to Pinsir now, we're arriving in Cianwood City only a couple minutes later thanks to already clearing out the lighthouse. I'll grab the shuckle from this house here as our strength user to move any boulders in our path. We also need to talk to the pharmacist in the house next to Chuck's gym to grab the medicine. It would not be fun to forget this before heading back to the lighthouse. Chuck is the fighting type gym leader. His gym won't pose a major threat to Ringo, especially since Bug resists fighting moves. And we didn't lose the mint berry. That's clutch since he has a polyrath that can use hypnosis and put us to sleep. This first pair of battles here can be troublesome at times, but you can see we're doing just fine. We level up to 31 and have the opportunity for guillotine. As part of my challenge rules, I won't be using it today. In the next battle, Hitmonchan is laughably bad. It has the elemental punches, but these were the good old days before individual moves could be physical or special independently of their type. It uses Ice Punch, although Fire Punch would be the better option. Perhaps it has a strange AI setting, but I honestly can't remember if it has Fire Punch. We haven't learned anything new, so I'll roll with Fury Cutter with the Mint Berry in hand. Ringo is ready to rumble in the ring. Chuck sends out Primate first. I start setting Fury Cutter up. Bug moves are resisted by fighting types, but that means we should build up a lot of power. Primate uses Fury Swipes, but our good defenses hold up. Fury Cutter lands again, and Fury Swipes misses. We get a third Fury Cutter off, and Primate is in the orange. Primate switches to Karate Chop now, but that doesn't do much either. We get Fury Cutter land again, and finish off Primate. The slow experience level group is making itself known here as we're just barely ahead of Chuck at this point. As a result, even though Fury Cutter lands, Polyrath hangs on. It uses Surf, which takes us to orange health. I almost switched to Seismic Toss, but at the last second switch back, and Fury Cutter misses. Yeah, this is what I was worried about earlier. And we get put to sleep, but wake up immediately, losing the Mint Berry. That isn't ideal, but it shouldn't be a big deal after this fight. I come to my senses and finish off the Polyrath with Seismic Toss. It's not the decisive victory I'd hoped, but bigger challenges lie ahead. We'll head out of Chuck's gym and hit up his wife. Now that we have Fly, we could take on Jasmine in Olivine City or move ahead through Mahogany Town to eventually take on Price. I'm thinking with the fighting type move and submission, just a few too many levels ahead, we should go ahead and clear out Mahogany first. Jasmine's steel types will be tough to take on in our current form. After teaching Fly, and given that we haven't actually ventured to Mahogany yet, we'll head to Ecruteak to get where we need to go. We have to stop by the Lake of Rage as we need to get the red scale to initiate the first part of the Rocket quest line that sandwiches the next two gyms. The red Gyarados can be challenging as it knows Dragon Rage, and it's beefed up to level 30 while taking a few hits to knock out. Fortunately, like Sudowoodo before, it has random AI as a wild Pokemon. We take care of it in 3 turns with Headbutt. Now we're really getting into what is fairly notorious for being some of the weakest content in the game. Normally I completely skip through covering this in my challenge films, but it's important to understand why it's so bad, so I'll cover just a few seconds of it. As soon as we head downstairs, you enter battle in front of these statues, and then you face a level 17 Drowsy. I get what they're going for here with the non-linearity part of this game, because I guess if you were particularly adventurous, you could end up here first, but there's clearly an optimal route to beat Morty, then beat Chuck, then get Fly, so this usually comes after all of that. To add insult to injury, immediately after this battle, you face another trainer with laughably low-level Pokemon. The thing is that you can hit a switch to turn these battles off after these 2 battles around the corner, but because one could conceivably take the remaining non-optimal route through the hideout, they had to balance the levels out with that in mind. At least the music's pretty good. As we skip to the end here, you can see that it only takes about 5 minutes, so it's not that long, just totally unnecessary. Enough of that though, we can head into Price's gym and take him on. He's not too worrisome today since ice types aren't super effective to bug types. Ugh, it is hard to skip that one trainer. Alright though, now we're ready to school Price. Price sends out Seal first. Pinsir clamps down on Seal with Vice Grip, but Seal lives to see another day. Icy Wind hits for a little bit and we get a speed drop, but it shouldn't matter. I switched to Headbutt since it's a bit more powerful. Seal's been iced. Next up is Dugong. Headbutt does over half. Dugong uses Aurora Beam and does quite a bit with a crit as well as an attack drop. That's not good. Headbutt doesn't get the knockout and we're in orange health after another Aurora Beam. We unnecessarily crit the Dugong to finish it off, but Pile of Swine remains. It has Blizzard, which could cause us to reset. We do about a quarter with Headbutt and get a flinch. We Headbutt again and no flinch. Blizzard. It misses. We use Headbutt and alright, another crit at the perfect time. Price came close, but no dice. Now we have one more battle at this checkpoint. Jasmine. We're not yet level 37 to get submission. I decide we should head to Goldenrod City for a quick pit stop. Our friendship with Ringo is high enough now to get TM27 from this lady here. That TM is return, and it's one of the best moves in the game. With max friendship, which we have, it does 102 damage and 100 accuracy as a normal type attack. There's no other effects or downsides, it just works. I'll buy up the proteins downstairs as well. I nearly misclick on Kenya since we just flew here, but I don't make that mistake this time. I'll do pretty much the same thing for Paul later. I could train to the next level, but I want to give Jasmine a try first and just see how things go. We head up to the top of the lighthouse and hand over the medicine we collected by Chuck's gym, and we meet her back in her gym. I'll go ahead and teach return over seismic toss as that has run its course for now. I'm not expecting a win here, but I do want to see how things go. Jasmine time. Jasmine sends out Magnemite first. We try out return and it does over half. Not bad. But we get paralyzed. Take a quarter from Thunderbolt, but we get the knockout. We unfortunately don't level up. I thought it could have happened, but hey, we gave it a shot. Steelix is next, as I'd feared, and Iron Tail lands, also dropping our defense. Return does basically nothing. Yeah, let's level up here after this reset. Which can come pretty quickly as we head out into the sea to clean up a few of the trainers. I skipped everyone in the sea earlier, so there's plenty of quick experience we can pick up. Submission, although it's a fighting move, does have some major drawbacks. It only has 80 accuracy, which doesn't sound too bad, but that actually is horrible because it can be a liability when you need it the most. It also has recoil damage. Later on, that won't matter as much, but Pinsir has a relatively low HP stat, so it matters now. Luckily, we do have our Shucky, and it starts off holding a berry that can eventually turn into berry juice after some time. Berry juice works just like a berry, but it can heal 20 HP. Accounting for the recoil here, I think that's going to be necessary to get us over the edge this time. We saw paralysis before, but with submission we should knock out any Magnemite quickly, assuming we hit, making the berry juice more useful here. With that in mind, let's see how much better the rematch with Jazz goes. First is Magnemite. We showcase our new move, and yeah, that felt pretty good. Steelix follows up. Let's smash it with submission. Okay, we both miss. Again. I promise I did not loop that footage. Third time's the charm. Yeah, not for us. We are still in the green though. Finally submission hits and does quite well. It's not half, but still. Next turn we both miss. Then we miss again. And Iron Tail just wipes us out thanks to a crit. 5 misses. 80 accuracy.
We have been hoodwinked, bamboozled, led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Alright, enough is enough. That was just an 18 karat run of bad luck. Jasmine is toast. Magnemite is first. We use submission. It goes down. Next up, Steelix. We use submission and you gotta be kidding me. Iron Tail drops us around 70. Next turn, submission lands and does over half. We are sustaining heavy damage through the recoil and then Iron Tail. But we land submission next and Steelix goes down. Magnemite is last and we cannot miss here. We don't and Jasmine is done. 17 HP, that berry juice was clutch. Ringo is through the checkpoint, finally. We have the other rocket segment to face after this. Ringo is through at 56 minutes and 53 seconds with the penalty applied. Resetting there a few times didn't help, but submission is ultimately going to be a useful move. Plus, Pinsir learns Swords Dance soon. However, so far, Pinsir hasn't really been as impressive as I thought. I'm betting that Heracross will still be well ahead at this same point. Paul is going to have a similar go through the first 2 gyms at least. It's time to take down Chuck. First for Chuck is Primeape. We have Fury Attack now, and I got that confused with Fury Cutter. It hits 3 times doing good damage. Primeape hits us with Leer. I correct my mistake and switch back to Fury Cutter, which doesn't start off with good damage even with the crit. With Fury Swipes now, it does pretty well with that defense drop. It's interesting that 3 attacks in this battle feature the word Fury. We get another crit next turn, but it still doesn't finish off Primeape. Karate Chop takes us to orange thanks to a crit. Things really aren't going well with that mistake with Fury Attack. Gonna have to get rid of that pretty soon. Poliwrath is next, and while Fury Cutter does land, it doesn't knock it out. Poliwrath uses Lock On, which means things will be very bad if we don't knock it out next turn. Fury Cutter does land though, and probably does just enough that we don't have to worry. We'll head to Price now. After 8 minutes and part of the rocket segment down, we arrive at the gym. There are no new moves for Paul, but we should manage better than we did with Chuck. Let's melt him down. Paul goes up against Steel first. Headbutt is our best attacking move, so we'll use that. It completely smashes through Seal's health. Next is Dugong, and it manages to withstand one headbutt. Roar Beam barely does anything thanks to our good special defense. One more headbutt and it's done. Piloswine is out last. We continue with headbutt, doing about a third. Rather than attacking, it uses Mist. Yeah, I don't know. We follow up with another headbutt, but it leaves just a slice for Price to heal next turn. Blizzard actually lands and does 24 damage. Poor Price. We go for headbutt, but of course Piloswine gets healed up. Headbutt does massive damage though, leaving Piloswine right where it was last turn, and Price gives up, letting us take the victory. Now there's just one badge left, and things might be tougher than they were for Ringo. We don't have submission and reversal, it's just a little bit out of reach. We saw just how bad return was against Jasmine earlier. However, Fury Cutter still might be viable when accounting for stab. It's important to remember that ground doesn't resist bug, only steel does. If we can avoid paralysis before Steelix, I'm thinking it might be possible. Jasmine sends out Magnemite first. We'll go ahead and start building up our Fury Cutter. It does a little bit. Immediately Magnemite paralyzes us, so our paralysis cure berry is gone now. We land another Fury Cutter and it looks like that will take a total of 4 turns. Magnemite switches to Thunderbolt. Okay, excellent, better than Thunderwave. We take Magnemite down to red and we get hit with Thunderwave. Yeah, that's not ideal. We don't get attack next turn and we do finish off Magnemite leveling up to 37. Now we get a chance to see how things will go with Steelix. It opens things up with Iron Tail. Ouch, we're not looking too good here. Fury Cutter does a third at least. Iron Tail lands again and we're in the red. But we do fight through paralysis, taking Steelix to red. Unfortunately, that means Jasmine is in range to heal, which she does next turn. Even though we're arguably getting good paralysis luck as we strike Steelix again, then Iron Tail misses. And we bring Steelix back to red, but then Iron Tail lands. Alright, so that's the first reset for Paul, but honestly, if we make it through without paralysis somehow, this battle should be possible. On attempt number 2, we open things up with Fury Cutter and Thunderwave misses. Okay, excellent. We land our second Fury Cutter and the Thunderwave lands this time, but we get cured by the berry. And then we get a crit. Alright, no paralysis, baby. We level up, and actually something interesting could happen here. On Steelix, since we're a move behind, Fury Cutter doesn't do as much as before. And that's a good thing. Iron Tail does a bunch to us, but watch this. The second turn leaves Steelix at orange health, but in range for us to knock it out. As a result, Steelix does not get healed, so we get the knockout next turn. Well, you know, things aren't over yet, there's still one Magnemite left, but Fury Cutter lands and takes it out. You know, looking back, that sequence that happened at the start of the battle means we had pretty long odds. It avoided potential to have a major headache with Jasmine. With the 7th gem out of the way, Paul clocks in at 53 minutes and 57 seconds and is up almost 3 minutes on Ringo. What is going on? Well, actually, things are about to get very bad for Heracross and very good for Pinsir. Looking ahead, we have the last rocket segment at Goldenrod City before heading to the 8th gym against Claire, the Dragon Gym leader. Honestly, that shouldn't be much of a challenge, but the Elite Four is going to be a nightmare for Heracross, specifically the battle with Lance. It's not the conventional way to describe him, but Lance specializes in the flying type. all of his Pokemon have the flying type. Luckily, they don't all have flying type moves, but even one is too many for Heracross at this point. I'm not sure if Heracross has built up enough of a lead time to hang on to the lead. In fact, I'm going to continue with Paul since he hasn't really been the focus of our segment so far today. Good luck, buddy. You're going to need it. To bookend the conversation we had earlier about the Rockets, I'll cover some highlights in this section more in depth. After Jasmine, we have to save Goldenrod City from Team Rocket. Before heading to Goldenrod, I actually like to fly to Violet City first. Here, off the water near Sprout Tower, we can grab a rare candy. Plus, surfing here can get us a Poliwag or Poliwhirl. For today, it looks like we're getting a Poliwag. This beast can learn Surf, Waterfall, and Whirlpool, which means we can get rid of our Wooper who can't learn all three. This guy definitely earns the name of HM Assassin. Now on to Goldenrod City. My criticism earlier with the Rocket segment really comes full circle with this segment we're doing now. We're about to face the first mini-boss of Goldenrod Radio Tower. This dude has 6, coughing and wheezing, and it's just a button mashing fest. This segment we're doing now is quite long and involves a lot of backtracking and a bunch of meaningless battles. Plus, having just completed the Mahogany section right before really amplifies how problematic the Team Rocket part of the game is. I mean, this battle is so long, it's only the halfway point of the quest. I'm actually shocked that we didn't miss any attacks given all the smoke screens either. There is one more notable battle though. As we head to the Goldenrod tunnels to link up to the Goldenrod department store basement, we can encounter our rival here. Normally this battle is so trivial I don't even cover it, but I definitely overlooked something in this run. We don't have a good move for ghost types yet. And he has a Haunter. Can Fury Cutter actually get us through? First for baddie is Golbat. Being 10 levels higher, you would think Headbutt could do enough, but we just don't have enough firepower yet. We get hit with Confuse Ray. We manage fine and knock out baddie's first Pokemon. Next up is Quilava. We are confused and hit ourselves pretty hard and Flame Wheel follows. We then hit ourselves again, and after a Flame Wheel, we're left in the red. My goodness, are we even going to get to Haunter? Nope, we knock ourselves out. I'm stupefied. I knew things were going to get hard, but not here, not yet. I can already feel the sense of dread starting to creep up. We didn't even make it to Haunter. Please, let a rematch go better. Round 2 begins and we start with Headbutt. Instead of Confuse Ray, Golbat uses Wing Attack. Luckily it only does half, but yikes. We get the KO and move on without confusion at least. Quilava's up next. We do get a Headbutt with a flinch, so we should be good for whoever's next, and it's Haunter. Our only option is Fury Cutter. You might wonder why I didn't start earlier, but hopefully seeing how the first 2 matchups went with a reset, that should be enough explanation. Haunter starts off with Shadow Ball, and our powerful attack stat combined with the slow defense can make quick work, but then we miss. While Haunter continuing Shadow Ball is for the best, I'm running out of HP here. We are in the red now, and Haunter is still in the green. Haunter does switch to Mean Look at least, sparing us from embarrassment again, for now. We take Haunter to orange, and now it uses Curse. Okay, this is actually perfect timing. Magnemite is next, Fury Cutter lands, and it goes down. Sneasel is last, and we take it out, let's go. Oh, no, quick attack. Wait, it didn't do anything. Fury Cutter lands and it's dead, and that's baddie out of the way. While there's some cause for celebration, that was way too close for comfort. We definitely had a favorable sequence of move selection by the AI. However, we do finish up the rest of Radio Tower with no other hurdles to report. We go downstairs and talk to this lady here to grab the pink bow, which powers up normal type moves. Looking back, you might wonder, why didn't I teach return? And honestly, it probably would have been a play there. It probably cost us a couple of minutes. But I only play the first run, and I have some question marks ahead, and it makes me want to keep some move slots open. One of those question marks is what we pick up at level 44, Reversal. Yeah, I think you know what's coming. Pokemon like Heracross come only once in a blue moon, and let me tell you, Pokemon Gold plays way differently when you're trying to manipulate your HP all the time. I will accept the quest of turning Paul into the ultimate glass cannon. It's the only path forward I can see since I'm not dapping him up with some hidden power ice drip. We'll head through the ice path and emerge at Blackthorn City. We have some multitasking at Claire's gym, and to accomplish that we can go ahead and face that first trainer. The first trainer sends out a Dratini. I'll use Fury Cutter since it should deal the least damage. Unfortunately, we do get paralyzed. I continue with Fury Cutter to get the knockout. With paralysis, we will have to adjust strategies a bit for this battle. Dratini goes down. There's another Dratini next, and it uses Dragon Rage, dropping us near position. Fury Cutter doesn't miss, and we finish the first trainer. After this battle, instead of healing, we will only cure our paralysis. I plan to clear out the rest of Claire's gym at low HP. To give you an idea of what's going on, because we talked about it a while ago, let's take this last trainer battle as a way to demonstrate what's happening. The trainer sends out a Dratini. Now, remember this back at the beginning. I showed this table for reversal. We're at 29 HP out of 149, which translates to about 19%. That means reversal is at 100 base power, plus we do in fact get stab. So this move is better than return in terms of raw damage output. I could push the gas a little bit by lowering our HP even lower, which is why I considered holding on to Endure, but there's a lot of risk management involved with this strategy already. As you can see though, we are cleaning up rather nicely. It is a lot to keep up with, so keep these 3 rules of thumb in mind. The HP bar turns red at 1/5 or 20% of our HP, so we're dealing at 150 base power with stab. Around 10%, or dropping the last digit and rounding up, we're doing 225. If we're super close to death, we're at 300. And by the way, there are no criticals with reversal or any ranges, so it's pretty consistent. Of course, the HP will scale as we level up, but I don't want you guys busting out your calculators for this. Keep those rules in mind. It's time to face Claire. We might honestly not be low enough on HP, but let's give it a shot. First for Claire is a level 37 Dragonair. We play the reversal card and it does do enough. If it was enough for that Dragonair, well, the next Dragonair should meet the same fate, and it does. This third Dragonair next is no different, and we finish it off in a single turn. Kingdra is next, and we hit it with reversal. It does unfortunately hang on and finishes Paul off with a critical from Surf. I don't know if that crit mattered, but the point is, as you can see, this plan is definitely not foolproof. But this is my first attempt with Heracross. I'll need to iron out the bugs. I figure squeezing in a hit from Dragonair won't hurt. So, in the rematch, I do need to go ahead and knock out this first Dragonair since it does have Thunder Wave. And it's going to go down because, again, reversal doesn't have any randomness and damage. Another Dragonair follows and it too can paralyze, I believe, so we're on to the third. The third Dragonair will let hit us after a Fury Cutter. It hits with Ice Beam, and we're left at 16, which is exactly what we need. Now we can knock it out. So now we're on to Kingdra. We're bumped up to the 225 base power range, so reversal should be more than enough. It is, and Claire clearly needs to hold on to her Dragon Fangs. That's the 8th badge for Heracross. Does stink. We've had to reset a few times so far this checkpoint, but we are on the way to Elite Four with our unconventional strategy tested. Really, the biggest drawback is the lack of ethers and elixirs in Pokemon Gold. Otherwise, this is a potentially viable strategy. However, Paul is powerful enough without reversal to handle most of the Elite Four trainers before the champion. Part of our arsenal will be with the move Return. I teach that over Headbutt on the way. With how well it went with reversal, I feel more comfortable teaching it now. In Victory Road, we also get Earthquake, which I teach over Fury Cutter. I'm honestly surprised the move lasted so long, but it has served us well. One last test before the gauntlet ahead, Batty. He certainly gave us a run for our money in Goldenrod Underground, but we have a few new tricks up our sleeve. It's time to beat Batty. First up is Sneasel, and yeah, I'm at 13 HP. Return takes care of it first turn. We level up to 48, and Golbat is next. With Return, we take care of it in one turn, thankfully. Next is Typhlosion. With Earthquake newly taught, we test it out and quake our way past the Batty's ace. Similarly, we do the same with Haunter. Kadabra is next, and a single Return takes care of it. Finally is Magneton, and Earthquake is quite useful, and it gets grounded fast. Batty is down bad. We're reaching the Indigo Plateau now. I have some final deliberations. I decide to save, and I don't save between members, so I'm really hoping things go well, or this is going to become a blowout. I figure reversal won't be necessary at all the first 3 battles. Karen does have that Umbreon, so I'm thinking we'll unveil our reversal strat then. Until that time, Return and Earthquake is going to get the job done. It's time to see what Paul can do. First on our list is Will, the psychic trainer. In theory, he could be a tough matchup, but Paul is very powerful. I don't think Will slow us down very much. You know, as they say, if there's a will, there's a way. We face off against Xatu first. If we get a one-turn knockout here, that should be a good sign for how things will go. We go with Return, and that is enough. Hera is just so strong. Will does send out his stronger Xatu next. We stick with Return, and we power through level 42 Xatu. My goodness. We level up to 49 and have Jinx next. It's so weak, and if the Xatus went down, it's not staying up, that's for sure. Executor follows Jinx. I do expect it to survive, and it does, but it's in the red. It uses Leech Seed, which is too little, too late. We finish it off next turn. Slowbro is next. We stick with Return, and although Slowbro is built like a tank, we take it to orange. With Leech Seed, it does gain back some HP, and it does use Curse. As a result, it ends up in the green and it's a little stronger. It uses Curse again, but we power through and finish off Will. Next up is Koga. Koga is usually not tough with his poison or bug types, but Crobat could be troublesome. With good health, we might survive a wing attack, but it's been a while, and victory is not guaranteed. I'll pop one of my leftover Eliminates, and we'll head straight in. Time to smoke Koga. Koga sends Ariados out. It is bug and poison, so Return is slightly better than Earthquake here. It's enough to take it out. Next out is Venomoth. It's quite similar to Ariados, and Return swats it down. Crobat is next. We will outspeed, and Return does really well. Don't know if the crit mattered, but I'm not going to question it. We hit level 50. Now we have Fortress. We'll switch to Earthquake, and I hope it does more than half, but it doesn't look like it's enough, and it uses Spikes. I have to be careful here because it can use Explosion, so I switched to Horn Attack, which looks to get us in range for Earthquake next turn. Meanwhile, Swift doesn't do much at all. We switch back to Earthquake and secure a safe knockout. Finally, we have Muck, and we will stick with Earthquake and quick our way to a dub against Koga. When we have to reset later, I don't look forward to facing Crobat again, but hey, we punch our tickets to Bruno, so we can head straight into battle. Bruno is about to feel the pain. First is Hitmontop. I do remember that we have Karen next, so it might be worthwhile to set up Reversal soon, but I decide we can wait until later in the battle. We go with Return, but Hitmontop does move first with Quick Attack. Surprisingly, we don't get the knockout, but we don't have much to worry about. Hitmontop does get one more hit off before going down. Next is Hitmonchan. We use another Return, and it goes down in a single turn. Bruno sends out Hitmonlee next, and it's definitely going down. Machamp follows behind. I don't think we'll get a KO here. It does over half and responds with a massive Cross Chop. You know, it always has a high chance for crit, so it's always a threat, but I actually don't mind here since we need to set up Reversal pretty soon. Bruno uses a max potion, but the effort is not worthwhile as our next return crits. Bruno is left with his ace though in Onyx, but of course we'll let it go to work on us. I switch to Horn Attack and that barely does anything. It uses Rock Slide and misses. We use Horn Attack again, and Rock Slide hits for only 16. That is so bad. I let it hit us one more time and finish it off. I could go lower, but I don't want to go too low in case Karen hits us too many times, so we'll stop here. We level up to 51, and that does take us out of the red, but with Umbreon and Houndoom being dark types, we should have enough power. Now, before her battle, I do need to restore some PP on return, but of course, we aren't going to heal. Karen's Umbreon is so defensive, but I'm thinking we should be able to finish it off before we take a sand attack. Let's take care of Karen. Karen sends out Umbreon first. Well, here goes nothing. We use Reversal and we wait. It finishes Umbreon in one turn. That felt amazing. But hey, the battle is just beginning. Next is Vileplume. I forget for a moment if Earthquake will be super effective or not, but I do eventually remember that it is neutral. I'm obviously torn in this moment because I'm not sure if we'll get the knockout. We don't have another option and don't get the knockout, but hey, it uses Petal Dance thankfully and we take it just fine. And Vileplume wilts next turn. Gengar is next and we can use Earthquake with confidence. It works itself out and we face Murkrow next. We don't have to worry since Return did so well against Vileplume. It goes down in a single turn. Finally, there's Houndoom, but with Earthquake, we finish off the test with Karen. Really, more like a pop quiz in comparison as we look ahead to Lance. This battle is going to be challenging. I'm not really sure how many times we'll have to reset and train, but it's worth an initial try. Obviously, I'm going to use all my rare candies here up to level 57, and as a result of using the rare candies, we do pick up Mega Horn. It's really not going to be useful here, but it's a valuable move in general, so I'll have to teach it over Earthquake because we actually don't need Earthquake anymore. And next, after we heal a little bit of HP here, I'm going to teach Rest over Horn Attack. I figure the sequence is going to go Gyarados first, then some combination of Charizard and Aerodactyl. Pretty sure we can take one Wing Attack at the HP we just healed up to and the level that we're at, but we're going to have trouble knocking out any of these mons in less than 2 turns. We really need to be able to thread the needle here. If we somehow make it through the first 3, I plan to rest and work our way through the rest of Lance's crew. Alright Lance, show us what you got. Lance gives us a warm-up exercise first with Gyarados. We don't have too much to worry about as it doesn't have any flying moves. We use Return to open the champion battle. It does better than expected, which isn't good. I was hoping for like a Rain Dance or something at least for Charizard. To that note, Lance actually sends out Aerodactyl next. That wasn't what I expected since Rock and Flying are neutral to fighting type. I'll use Return first and we'll see after that. That does over half. Next is Wing Attack. Yeah, we are 11 levels higher and Aerodactyl's not the strongest, so I'll take that. I switch to Reversal and we get the knockout as we're at full power. Charizard, of course, follows up. I'm really curious how Reversal's going to do. It hits. And we get the Oko, baby. Even though it's not very effective with Stab, we are in this. There are 3 Dragonite remaining. Lance opts to send the highest level one out first. This one has Outrage, but we don't have a choice but to rest. I seriously doubt Reversal will one-hit this one, so it's not worth the risk. It uses Outrage and deals good damage. We are still asleep and get hit one more time. I switch to Return even though we still have one more turn of rest. Can get the next move wrong. Dragonite is confused after too much Outrage and we get hit in confusion. We finally wake up and take it down to red. Fortunately, Dragonite snaps out and takes our health to orange. Man, I was hoping that wouldn't happen. We go ahead and finish it off with 2 Dragonite remaining. Next Dragonite comes out and I make a mistake here. Don't be like me. What am I doing? We hang on with 1 HP remaining despite my reckless abandon. Of course, I could use Reversal now, but let's rest instead. We get a turn of recharge from Hyper Beam and then hit again with Hyper Beam. But then another turn of rest to follow. We wake up and finish Dragonite off. Last out for Lance is another Dragonite. We stick with the turn and it doesn't knock this one out either. It responds with Thunder Wave. Oh my gosh. Have we come so far to be sent all the way back to the beginning? We get hit with Hyper Beam. What is this damage? We get crit, and for the 3rd time this battle, Paul's End is in reach. This is absurd. At least it has to recharge. I'll stick with Return. We're either going to finish it or we're toast. We fight through the paralysis, knock out the Dragonite, level up to 58, and Paul's the champ. What a battle. There are no words for what just transpired other than that was a cheeky dub for sure. Paul clocks in at about 1 hour and 29 minutes. Alright, yeah, you know, I should probably take a break, but instead I'm going to switch things back over to Ringo now. With Ringo, we've got a tough baddie battle in the Goldenrod Underground 2. One different approach that I take is to teach Thief over Fury Cutter. You know, maybe that special attack does matter because Pinsir has a higher special attack for whatever reason, and I should be able to take out the Haunter in enough time. Let's give that a shot. First up is Golbat. We use Headbutt first and get a flinch, therefore securing a knockout next turn. Next is Lava. We also use a Headbutt here and get a flinch and therefore securing another knockout. We level up to 40 and face Magnemite next. We have Submission, which is really nice to have here, and Magnemite goes down. Haunter's next and Thief. Wow, that did pretty well. Haunter uses Shadow Ball, so it looks like we won't have to worry about Curse. Finally a Sneasel, and we use Submission, which it's quad weak to, and Baddie Underground wasn't as tough for Ringo. We'll jump ahead to Claire's gem in a minute, but it's important to note that we pick up Swords Dance. This move is the end-all be-all for anything remaining in Pinsir's path. It increases your attack stat by 100% each turn, up to 3 turns. Essentially, you can max out at 4 times your attack. This move is just too good. At the 8th gem, I give Pinsir a Paralysis Cure Berry to help with setting up Swords Dance in case one of Claire's Dragonair tries to paralyze us. With that, we're all set to clear out her team. Claire sends out the first of her 3 Dragonair. I set up the first Swords Dance. We do get paralyzed, but heal from the berry. I think we're good to go. We switch to return, and Dragonair number 1 goes down. Next is Dragonair number 2. It goes down. We level up to 45 and face the 3rd Dragonair. Return continues dusting through Claire's team. Kingdra's next. This too should be a 1-hit. It is, but it was a crit, so hey, we can't say for sure. What we can say for sure though is Claire is absolutely thrashed, and that was with 1 Swords Dance. As you can imagine, the last baddie battle results in utter domination. First is Sneasel. I don't even bother with Swords Dance, opting for return and getting the 1-hit knockout. Baddie sends out Golbat next. I set up a single Swords Dance, and we take a solid wing attack. We switch to return and take out the Golbat next turn. We level up to 48 and Typhlosion is next, but it's only 1 turn of return to finish off Baddie's ace. Next up is Magneton. We go for return instead of submission just so we have that consistency, and even not being effective, Magneton can't get a grip. Okay, Hunter's next, and yeah, we have to use Thief. The problem is I can't seem to pick their correct move. We get hit with Confuse Ray. Okay, then I pick another move, but it's still not the move we need. I'm not making this easy for myself. Shadow Ball doesn't do much, but when I do pick the right move, we do over half. Finally, we're back on track. Unfortunately, next turn we do hit ourselves, and since we're boosted up, that's a ton of damage. Ouch. We could lose this. Next turn, thankfully, things go our way and we get the knockout, but there's still 1 Pokemon left, and we still haven't snapped out of Confusion. Well, here goes nothing. Okay, great. Did not mean to make things harder on myself, but it goes to show that sometimes the greatest hurdle to success can be yourself. With that important lesson learned at a critical time, Ringo and I will take our humbled mindsets straight to Will. We have to be more careful and will our way to victory. We face off against Will's first Xatu. Being mono bug type really helps, and we can set up a Swords Dance no problem. Sidekick does decent damage, but our work here is done. Switching back to return gets us a knockout. Next up is the other Xatu. We continue with return and get another knockout, but don't think the crit mattered here. Jinx comes out next, but with its puny defenses, it's wiped out. We level up to 49, and out next is Slowbro. Will return be enough? Yeah, it is. But this battle is over. Executor is next, but it's not going to last either. That required only 1 Swords Dance, so Ringo should have a pretty good time with Koga and Bruno next. In fact, I won't even heal up. Koga don't know what's coming. First is Ariados. I set up Swords Dance and it uses Double Team. Oh no, come on. We switch to return and miss. Yeah, this continues for 3 more turns. Thankfully, Ariados can't do too much to us other than like baton pass to another teammate, but we do eventually take it out. Alright, so not an ideal start, but maybe we can get the ball rolling on Venomoth. It goes down to return. Crobat follows, and it's nice to see ya, but see ya later. Fortress is next, and it's pretty strong, so I set up another Swords Dance since it uses spikes. I switch to return, but it doesn't go down. Please don't explode. Alright, we're good. Muck? More like suck, am I right? Okay, yeah, sorry buddy, maybe one day you'll get your chance to avenge yourself. Koga though is finished. Alright, it's on to Bruno. I'll pop an ether real quick for return, but we won't bother healing again. Let's bring Bruno down. Ringo has Hitmontop first. We get hit first with Quick Attack while setting up a Swords Dance. That should be good for now. We use return but take a Quick Attack on its way out. Hitmonchan follows and we take it out back. Onix is next, surprisingly, but when we don't knock it out it hits with Rock Slide, so I guess that's why. Even though it's super effective, we take it alright. So the champ could potentially survive, but I decide against using another Swords Dance. With Onyx down now, I guess we'll find out. We use Return on Machamp, and it looks like I made the right choice. We finish the bout off with a quick round against Hitmonlee, and Bruno is busted. Karen is up next. This one could be interesting. I will heal up with the remaining healing items I have in the bag. When we head into the room, I'll do a quick PP check. Yeah, PP looks good. The biggest question marks are Umbreon and Gengar. We could miss with submission on Umbreon, and Gengar will definitely survive Thief. Can Ringo's run be stopped here? First question mark is Umbreon. Our best bet to avoid Sand Attack is with submission. It doesn't miss thankfully, but Umbreon actually survives. Oh no. We get hit with Confuse Ray, which could be bad, but it's not as bad as Sand Attack. I switch to Return for accuracy, and we get by Umbreon. We also level up to 51, and Houndoom is next because, of course, it has Flamethrower. I feel a little ill-prepared. Return is not a guaranteed knockout in my mind, but Houndoom is pretty weak. Submission could miss, and we're confused on top of it all. I go with my gut and go with submission, and we work through the confusion, and submission lands, taking out another threat. Next up is Vileplume. Now, it could paralyze. However, we need Swords Dance since Murkrow, of all things, could take us out at the end. So we work through the confusion and get off a Swords Dance. Vileplume uses Petal Dance, which doesn't do much, so that went well. Next turn, we finally snap out of confusion and take out the Vileplume and move on to Gengar. Okay, we'll switch to Thief now. That didn't do much. Gengar uses Lick though, and thankfully we don't get paralyzed. We stick with Thieving and it uses Lick again. It should have used Curse or Destiny Bond, but it didn't. We finish it off with Thief. Alright, all is well. Finally there's Murkrow, and with Swords Dance we get the guaranteed knockout. I feel like I underrated how difficult that battle could have been. We really lucked out with the accuracy, confusion, paralysis luck, her move selections. I go ahead though and heal up with some more of our healing items as well as restore our PP. If this battle for Paul was a nightmare, it's safe to say this battle for Ringo is a dream. Let's get this over with. The soon-to-be former champ hates this one neat trick. Watch and learn, buddy. I set up one Swords Dance. Gyarados uses Rain Dance. I set up another Swords Dance. It uses Surf. I set up one final Swords Dance, and it uses Surf again. Hey, we're at orange health, but it's over. Return takes out Gyarados. Next is Aerodactyl. It resists Return, but it's not able to withstand a fully set up Swords Dance Pinsir Return. It goes down. We level up to 52, and Charizard is next. Hey, this guy was our nightmare just a few minutes ago, but no more. He's buried. We've got the first Dragonite, the strong Dragonite. We use Return, and it goes down hard and fast thanks to a crit that probably didn't matter. Another Dragonite's next. We continue with Return, and it goes down. One more Dragonite, one more Pokemon destroyed by Ringo. We are the champions. The difference in champion battles was like the Tale of Two Cities, my goodness. Ringo really picked up the pace too, as he's now almost 3 minutes ahead of Paul. Swords Dance makes a lot of battles trivial in terms of time, and it shows here at this checkpoint. Paul held up fine given the circumstances, but it takes way too much time to get through his battles. We still have a few more gym battles in Kanto to discuss in the final showdown with Red before crowning either of our combatants the winner in this challenge. Heracross has faced his greatest challenge so far at the champion, but do bigger challenges lie ahead? After getting booted back to the home screen, we start our file back in Johto. This is funny as immediately after taking your first step, you get a call from Professor Elm to see him. It's like we could have started in the lab, but whatever. We get the ticket, we can head up to Olivine to hop on the SSN. When I first played this game, I always wondered what this area was, so it was pretty mind-blowing going through the sequence initially. But alas, like the Rocket segment, Kanto gets a lot of criticism, and rightfully so. There are probably 2 or 3 max difficult mandatory battles to beat the game, and honestly, this doesn't take very long, if you know where you're going. It's definitely nice to have for exploration and, Easter eggs, and the level curve makes sense given that you just face the Elite Four who should have the highest level Pokemon in the entire game. At least that's what I tell myself anyway. I'll focus on the highlights in a moment. However, I do need to address a Don fan in the room. First of all, if you're somehow still awake at this point in the video, congratulations. Or maybe you skipped ahead. But seriously, just give me a minute. It has been a while since my last challenge. I'm okay, nothing is wrong. I just want to apologize. Briefly now, what I perceived as a dubious series of events kind of turned me off from the process. You guys are smart and can probably piece it together, but honestly what disturbed me most was knowing the effort I pour in is so much, and fear of failure is one of my weaknesses. That combined with the feeling that these things kind of felt rigged, it really got to me. But a few weeks ago I decided that, you know what, who cares? What is happening is their prerogative, and letting it affect me is the only way I can fail. I'm frankly lucky to have any audience at all, so thank you. And besides, I owe it to myself to focus on building my own thing. I am really excited for everything that's to come, which I talk about at the end of this challenge, so stay tuned. Alright, enough of that. Look, Heracross doesn't really have any tough battles until Blue and Viridian City. It's worth noting that when you catch the Snorlax, it's holding the leftovers, which heals up 1/16 each turn. It doesn't sound like much, but if you've seen other videos, you know that this really helps pad out your HP. Other than that, Heracross hasn't really changed. Blue though can be a tough cookie since he is at a more appropriate level with a balanced team. Plus his first Pokemon is a Pidgeot, and that'll make things even more challenging. Let's show Blue who's boss. We have Pidgeot to contend with first. We can likely survive a wing attack, but it's gonna sting. We'll use Return first. It does good damage, but Pidgeot is going to get revenge. Wing attack does about half, which Paul handled better than I expected. We do take it down next turn, and next up is Arcanine. We continue with Return, and yeah, that's not enough either. So we get hit pretty hard with Flamethrower and end in the yellow after healing from leftovers. Just gonna continue with Return and finish it off. After that is Alakazam. I waver on using Megahorn. It is super powerful, but it's only 85% accurate, but hey, might as well show it off to you guys. It lands and of course takes care of it. Next is Gyarados. Return is the most appropriate here given that fighting and bug type moves can't do much to its secondary flying type. Again, it hangs on and uses Hyper Beam. I thought we could hang on, but it results in a crit. Yeah, I think normally we survive that, so not to worry, let's try that again. So Pidgeot is up to the plate. Like last time, Return doesn't do enough and Wing Attack does a manageable amount. It goes down next turn. Arcanine is next, and again similar story where we hit with Return, it doesn't do enough and we get taken out of our comfort zone with a Flamethrower. I do switch it up and go with Reversal for the same end result. Arcanine is KO'd. Next is Alakazam. I pick Megahorn eventually, it doesn't miss, and Alakazam doesn't survive, which brings us back to where we left things off last time. We still have Rest, so I choose that to be safe, and Gyarados hits with Hyper Beam. That does more than what we had remaining, so good choice by me. We have a turn of Rest, as does Gyarados. We wait another turn, and it opts Rain Dance, which is good. We wake up and use Return, doing more than half, and Hyper Beam leaves us in the green still. So we move forward next turn, taking down Gyarados. Executor is next, and Megahorn, if it lands, which it does, will do the trick. So we're left with Rhyhorn now. I pick Reversal thinking that Bug is somehow not effective to rock and ground, but it turns out it's completely, entirely neutral. Reversal does okay though. Rhydon uses Sandstorm, which the biggest threat it has is the animation sequence slowing down Paul's time. Nevertheless, I switched to Megahorn, and that took it out without a crit. My man. We level up to 65 too. One showdown remains for Heracross with Red. We can head to Mount Silver. Red won't be easy since Charizard is going to show up early. However, one key difference is that there isn't another flying type on Red's team. That gives us more room to operate than we have with Lance. I do decide to level up one more time since we lost a bit of experience from using the Johto Rare candies earlier at the Elite Four. That gets us to level 66. At the top, we can save here and use 3 rare candies to get us into good position. Let's finish this. Red kicks things off with Pikachu. Although we're 12 levels below, we don't have to worry. We outspeed and take it out with Return. Next is Venusaur. Maybe it was first to set up Sunny Day for Charizard, but we switched to Megahorn. Again, despite the level difference, we're really holding up well. It tries to set up Solar Beam instead of Sunny Day, and we can switch to Return and finish it off. Now we have Charizard. Return doesn't knock it out, and here comes a Wing Attack. Yeah, that's a lot of damage, but we stop at orange health. Let's go, Paul. we continue with Return and finish Charizard. Now there's Espeon, which normally would be scary given the circumstance, but we have Megahorn. We poke it with that, and it's pretty allergic, I'd say. And next is Snorlax, but you know, hey, our health is pretty mid right now, so let's use Reversal. Oh, okay, that didn't quite do half, but I'm absolutely flabbergasted at Red's move selection here. Let's try Reversal again. Surely we can survive a Body Slam, but oh, hold on, we won't have to. Is that really it? There's Blastoise left, and we switch to Megahorn. That does over half. It uses Rain Dance. You gotta be kidding. I switch back to Return to secure the victory, and Paul's finished Pokemon Gold. You know, at the end of the day, Heracross matches up really well to Red. We didn't have any cheesy tactics like Curse or Sleep Talk, just raw power. Huh, I guess I underestimated you. Paul wraps up at 1 hour and 56 minutes. Pretty respectable given the abundance of flying types in key battles. I'll be sure to give some credit for an original moveset, but unfortunately, Pinsir may be only gaining momentum in Kanto. But perhaps I spoke too soon. Yeah, this is footage from Janine's gym in Fuchsia City. What in the world are we doing here? Well, Ringo ran into a bit of trouble. First is Crobat. Okay, so what's the problem? I set up a Swords Dance and then we get confused. We are able to move, get off a Return and take out the Crobat. Next is Venomoth. We stick with Return and also get the knockout, but Wheezing is next. We unfortunately hit ourselves in confusion, then get badly poisoned. Then we hit ourselves again and take a fat L in Kanto. How embarrassing. We'll have to try that again. This time, I'm not going to set up on Crobat. When we get back into battle, we take it out in one turn. But then I realized at Venomoth that I only have 2 PP left on Return. That's not good. I figure we can at least try to knock everything out with what we have left. Return takes out Venomoth at least. Next is Wheezing. I want to hold on to Return for when we really need it, so I switch to Submission. That, of course, doesn't do anything, and we get Toxic, which means the clock might run out on us in a few turns. We use Submission again since it's too late to set up Swords Dance in my mind, and we take Recoil, Poison, then a Sludge Bomb, leaving us at orange health. We finally finish off the Wheezing and level up to 56, but 2 Pokemon remain. The next Pokemon is another Wheezing, so I use Return and we get the knockout. Finally, there's Ariados. I try Submission, but that doesn't do enough, and with Recoil, Poison, and Nightshade, we reset yet again. Like, why do I keep making such bad mistakes? I guess I'm just trying to blow through Kanto as fast as possible with Ringo. So, after resetting yet again, we pop an Ether before the battle. Now that we've learned from our mistakes, we put Janine away for good. As you can see, there was never a need for Swords Dance. I just needed the PP. I can just let Ringo go to work with Return. And that's it. No other battle was challenging after this. Other than Red, of course. Maybe? Off to Mount Silver we go. We'll save here and pop our rare candies. We'll actually end up a level below Heracross, assuming we beat Red. Is Ringo ready for the finale with Red? First is Pikachu. It'll be interesting to see if we outspeed here. We won't set up here since it can use Charm or Paralyze us, so we'll just go ahead with a Return. We do outspeed, and I'm pretty surprised to see that. We do, of course, knock it out. Next is Venusaur, and this is where the fun begins. We can set up Swords Dance perfectly here. It uses Solar Beam, but of course now it's locked in and has to wait. We can use Swords Dance again. Solar Beam hits, but you know, we resist that, so we can set up one more Swords Dance, and Venusaur uses Sunny Day, which would be scary if Charizard manages to survive when it comes out, which is right about now. Return dismantles Venusaur, and sorry to break it to you, but Charizard isn't hanging on. Snorlax is next, and yeah, we'll go with Return. It's finished. Red sends out Blastoise next, and we destroy it with Return. Finally, there's one Pokemon left in Espeon, which of course doesn't survive Return. Ringo cruises to the finish line. Ringo clocks in just over 1 hour and 51 minutes. Despite my numerous errors in Kanto, we are still ahead by nearly 4.5 minutes of real time. Pinsir just becomes overwhelming once it gets a hold of Swords Dance. Let's look at the final stats and place our participants in the tier list. Yes, you heard me. Pinsir finishes with a real time of 1 hour and 51 minutes, game time of 7 hours and 2 minutes, and at level 68. Heracross finishes with a real time of 1 hour and 56 minutes, game time of 7 hours and 30 minutes, 4 resets, and at level 69. For pros and cons, it's pretty simple. Pinsir was an excellent sweeper at the end of the game, but he just wasn't very dynamic in terms of attacks and relying on sword stance. We also ended the game with Thief in our move pool. Heracross was very fun to use. His moves definitely raise the stakes and make him quite unique. That 4x flying weakness is brutal. So let's take a look at the tier list. Yeah, this has been in the works for a while, and with 16 Pokemon so far, we have a picture of how our past combatants have done. I'm grading this with my relative skill level in mind at the time the video is made, and adjusting for how I slightly get better over time. So anyways, Pinsir is going in the low A tier and Heracross going in the low B tier. That's just how I feel confidence wise with what we've seen so far. Pinsir does have sword stance, but it doesn't have a lot of good moves, and bug type is a liability. Heracross, it's not bad, just really can't get over the 4x flying weakness. Let me know what you think. Next time on this channel, we've got bird and dog matchups to get through. Ugh, boring. And maybe a triple header matchup between these guys. Look forward to seeing one of them end up in the price tier. Big thanks to our first channel member, Cam Montgomery. 1 member strong, baby. Well, that's it for now. While you wait, check out the Venusaur and Meganium matchup, or Espeon and Umbreon matchup if you haven't seen those. See you next time.